At its root, the word discriminant has discriminate. Generally, that has some negative connotations to it. Um, Thinking that you notice a difference between things. Here, we're going to be noticing differences that are, in fact, important. The discriminant is what's under the square root. You are not taking the square root itself. In that first example, A is 8, B is 7, and C is 3. We're just calculating the part that's under the square root. So 7 squared minus 4 times 8 times 3. Counting, we only have a single minus or negative sign. So 49 minus 4 times 8 is 32, and 32 times 3 is 96. We're going to get a discriminant of negative 47 there. If we were continuing to solve the equation, then having a negative under a square root, there would be no real solutions. So since D is negative, no real solutions. If you're looking for real solutions, if you've concentrated, as I largely have been, on figuring out the number under the square root before trying to simplify the square root, if you're only looking for real solutions, then don't bother after that point. If D is less than 0, if the discriminant is negative, you've got no real solutions. That would come up in certain applications. Sometimes, though, we do want complex solutions. On the second one, A is 4, B is 5, and C is negative 3. So calculating the discriminant, we've got 5 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 3. 5 squared is 25. Then according to the order of operations, we would be multiplying. But to figure out the sign first, I count 2 negatives. So I'm going to be adding. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. I already accounted for the signs so that it's positive or that we're adding. And we get a discriminant that is positive 85. If you're looking for real solutions, then you're going to get, if you were continuing to solve that second equation, you would get, I left out the equals 0 part there either. If the discriminant is positive, there are 2 real solutions. In between the positives and the negatives, we get a third case where D equals 0. You can look back at my last example, video 11 of this playlist, example 9. When D is equal to 0, you would get a single solution. underneath the square root in that last example, we came up with 0 under the square root, and we only got one solution. You can also go back and look at all the earlier examples as well. Look at what we had under the square root before we took the square root. When we got a positive, we came up with 2 real solutions. In that last example, when we had 0 under the square root, we got 1 real solution. And finally, there were a handful of examples where we got a negative and we simplified. We had I as part of the solution. One additional thing, if it's positive and if D is a perfect square, then those 2 real solutions you get are rational, maybe even integers, but at least rational. Rational numbers are still real numbers.